Hello, this is Sir David the Bard. The New Caribou, the Honorable Sir David, Emperor of Salt Lake City, Sultan of Utah, Spiritual Advisor to Questioning Mormons, the Bard Extraordinaire, Supreme Being, Alpha, and Omega are back with me. They got their jobs back. I wanted to do one more video on the end of the world. Now, I'm doing this to let Marie Osmond know she's only got a few more days. I'm still available, Marie. Had a crush on you for 60 years. No, I wasn't 5 when I've had a crush on you 55 years. You little cutie. Only good thing the Mormon Church ever produced. Anyway, I want to tell you, when I was a kid back in the 60s, not the 1860s, the 1960s, there was a Cold War between the United States and Russia. We all had nuclear bombs just like we did today. And there were some scary things that happened. There was a man, and he looked like me now, Nikita Khrushchev. Nikita Khrushchev. Now, when you hear his name, it just tightens your anus right up, because he sounds like a guy that would launch a nuclear bomb. So he went to Castro in Cuba, and Castro's still alive. I think he's one of the 3 Nephites. He'll never die. And he said to Castro, "Castro, want missiles?" And Castro goes, "Yes, we have only old cars here." And so Nikita Khrushchev got the whole island full of missiles, and they're 90 miles off of Florida. A missile in 90 miles is about 6 minutes. That doesn't give you much running time from Miami to get to New York. So anyway, I don't think we had satellites back in those days that could see the nuclear missiles that were there. I think they were over flights. We used to fly over with cameras, and the guys would hang out the windows in the wind, and they take pictures of these nuclear missiles aimed at the U.S. Well, John F. Kennedy, when he wasn't screwing Marilyn Monroe, and he was at the White House now and then, and he wasn't dodging bullets, which he wasn't good at down there in Dallas, Texas, he said, "Castro, get those missiles out of there." And Castro goes, "Make me. My father can beat your father up." And Kennedy says, "We can blow you off the face of the earth." And Nikita Khrushchev said, "No, Castro is our friends. We will bomb you. There will be no Americans." Now, I'll tell you, Nikita Khrushchev had a little bit of a personality, well, a little bit like mine. He went to the United Nations back in those days, and, the United Nations has always been impotent. I don't know why. They can't do anything. But anyway, they let him talk like they do today, and Nikita got up, and he pulled a David the Bard. He took his shoe off in front of the world. Now, half the people in the room were dying because of the smell. But the rest of the delegates who did not pass out, he takes his shoe, and he's beating it down on the podium. And he said, "We will bury you. We will bury you. We will bury you," to the Americans. Well, the Americans go, "Well, shit, no one's ever buried us before, but that kind of scares us." So Kennedy goes, "You're not burying anybody. Get those missiles out of Cuba." Well, the Russian ships just kept going to Cuba and dropping more missiles off. And Kennedy said, "Well, Marilyn, I gotta go." And there was no sex there. It's kind of like Monica Lewinsky. The Democrats are always in trouble for sex, and the Republicans are in charge, are always getting in trouble for homosexuality and cheating and money things. So anyway, Kennedy goes to the White House, and he says to the Army guys, "We need to stop Castro." And one of the Navy guys said, "Hey, I got an idea." And they go, "Okay, what the hell is your idea?" "Let's put ships all around." And then Kennedy said, "Okay, ring around the rosy. What if the Russian ships come and just go through the ring?" And Lyndon B. Johnson, Baines, I think his name was Baines, who was the worst president in the world with the Vietnam War, he didn't even seek a return. Nixon just got on a plane and says, "I'm not a crook." Johnson goes, "Fuck, hell, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do." So anyway, Kennedy goes, "All right, I think the surrounding with the boats and ships is a good idea." and I'll worry about it later if they just go through the boats and ships. So Kennedy, you know, he put a circle of ring around with the Navy all around Cuba, and Castro's out on the beach doing this to the American warships. And pretty soon, the Russians were coming across the ocean. And this was the scariest time that I've lived. I'm 65 now, coming up here. And it's the scariest time I've ever lived because the whole world went quiet. And in those days, they had a red telephone. Kennedy had a red telephone. It was a dial one, so you couldn't do anything very quickly. But then it dialed over to Russia, and they had to crank on Khrushchev's phone, and they would talk to each other in case there was going to be a war. Well, you know, they would always say at the UN, give me a call, give me a call. So Kennedy was sitting there with his damn red phone, and Nikita Khrushchev was sending the boats. He knew that there was a barricade around Cuba. Well, it was quiet. It was quiet here in the United States because we didn't know if Kennedy was going to launch a nuclear weapon or Nikita. Now, Nikita loved to launch his shoe. He'd throw that across the delegates, you know. We have long-term shoes, long-range missiles. So, anyway, we were scared. And I think they were scared. Well, the Russian ships got very close to the United States encirclement of Cuba. And Kennedy, I think, got on the phone, and Nikita was cranking his phone, and Kennedy says, now I'm paraphrasing this, I wasn't there, you know, all I got was top secret transcripts of this. He said, Nikita, you're screwed. We're going to blow your ships out of the water, then we're going to send a nuclear bomb right over there to your house. So what do you want to do? Nikita goes, well, I've got my shoe off. Kennedy goes, how would you like to have your head off? No, Nate, is that how to say it in Russian? Nate. It means, hell no. So, Kennedy said, turn your ships around. Nikita goes, okay. Nikita turned his ships around and off they went. Okay, long story. Now, why am I saying this to you? Because I lived in an upper class neighborhood. I was raised somewhat upper class. And we had people, and I'll tell you one of them. John Hunter, my friend in the Ojai Ward. Howard W. Hunter was the prophet of the Mormon Church. And John, my friend, he was older than I was. He's my scout leader. He lived just up the hill from us, and his father, Howard Hunter, would come to the ward now and then, and Howard was only there as a prophet a short time and then died. But I liked John. John was fun, and he and I got along. We had very similar personalities, except people liked him. Well, he was Mormon royalty. I was Mormon dog shit, so no one liked me. Anyway, what I just was watching on TV just a few minutes ago, and you know I don't watch much more than 10 or 12 hours of TV a day. There's these people now, they're called, oh God, I forgot the name. They're survivors. They're people who are building for the end of the world. And, God, I can't think of it. Anyway, it'll come to me. So they're building these shelters to go underground. Now they have big screen TVs down there and, you know, couches and food and everything. Now let me tell you where that came from. Okay? All you young people think you're inventing this shit. All you're doing is repeating what I saw in the 60s. Okay? There was 2 or 3 people up above us that decided they were going to build a nuclear bomb shelter because Nikita Khrushchev was crazy. He was totally like Saddam Hussein, you know, he was totally crazy. So I don't know in those days how much it was. It might have been, I don't know, $15,000, $25,000, $30,000, which today would be $60,000 to $100,000. So they, now I put in a couple of septic tanks in my day. Well, one place I was developing in California. And I brought in one of the biggest septic tanks they make because it was a residential facility for many people. And good Lord, it came in on a crane. It was totally cement, and they lowered that sucker in the ground after the pitchforks. They dug the hole for it. And man, you could get in that thing and run around inside. It was big. Now, it was still empty. I didn't run around in it when it was filling, okay? When it was empty, I thought, hey, this will be bitching. I've never been in a septic tank. My ex-wives have threatened to put me in one many times, so I thought, well, I'll get in to see what it's like. Know where to swim for the holes in the leach line. So anyway, we lived in a place called Skyline. It was kind of the fancy name of the neighborhood we lived in. It was called Harlem Skyline. No, it was just Skyline. Well, anyway, up on the little bit of the hill where John Hunter lived, he had some neighbors, and they decided to build an atomic fortress, okay? So we would go in their backyard and we would watch the machines digging this big hole in the ground, big hole in the ground. I don't think you had permits in those days for it. Anyone that wanted a bomb shelter could build a bomb shelter. So we went down in this one, and it was like a submarine. I don't know if any of you have ever been on the submarines at Disneyland, that they barely go under the water, but they have a porthole that you kind of have to climb through. It makes you feel like a real sub. Well, that's the way this thing was. And you cranked it, you know, just like a submarine. They have that crank thing where they can get out then and get up on top. Well, they had one of those crank things, so us kids, we were cranking the damn thing. And we went down inside, and hell, if you've got claustrophobia and there's no windows and it's dead-ass silent, it'd be better to be bombed. So we went in this thing, and one of the homeowners there was giving us a tour. And he said, now, here's where we put our food, and here's where we sit. And look at the wall. There was no cable in those days. A TV antenna, you couldn't put it outside and then run it through the ground. That ain't going to work. In atomic war, the antenna's going to fall down anyway. So anyway, we sat there and we looked at each other for around 45 seconds until we were all so bored. We said, well, if you close the hatch up there, the radiation can't come in, but how do you breathe? And he goes, see that crank right there? You turn that handle and it cranks fresh air in. Whose job is that? And he goes, anyone that wants to breathe. Well, in those days, they didn't have filters like gas filters like they have for nuclear stuff now. So you were just cranking down into the shelter, the radiation air. Well, now I was only, probably 16. And I looked at that, and I said to the guy, and he was LDS. I mean, you know, only LDS people do this shit. But anyway, they're hoping for the end of the world because they're so miserable. They don't want to live anymore. And I said to him, well, what if your neighbors get hungry? Are you going to share any of your food? And he goes, no. I said, well, the church requires, don't you have to share? No. We have guns over there. I said, hell, that's damn dangerous when you're in a total concrete shell and there's not enough room to squat to pee and a gun goes off. Running from that bullet can be a bitch. He goes, no, we shoot them at the roof where they try to come in. I said, okay. So I said, well, if your neighbors, we're one of your neighbors, and if I knock on your door and go, hey, this is David the Bard, can you throw me a can of beans? You're just going to shoot my ass off. He goes, that's right. I go, what would Jesus do? He says, shoot your ass off. I go, okay. Mormonism, I love it. Anything they do is what Jesus would do. So anyway, I'm watching this TV program downstairs, and these people are doing the same damn thing. And they think they're inventing it. They think they're inventing it. Now, this one guy built a fiberglass. He didn't build steel and concrete. Well, he got screwed. The contractor put his bomb shelter on a slope, and they had so much rain that all of the rain and the mud came into the vent for the air, and it filled the whole thing up. There's nothing in there but water now. So the warranty on these are very strange. If the end of the world doesn't come, you don't get your money back. If the end of the world does come, there's no one to get your money back from. So here's the contractor standing over this big pool of water inside this thing, and the owners are going, what if we were in there? And he said, well, I don't know. How long can you hold your breath? So anyway, that shelter went down the poop chute. So now they're going to get a concrete and a steel one. Now, here's some of my points, okay? Being an atheist, I've told you a million times, I don't care if the world comes to an end this instant. You know, my life has been wonderful to this point. what happens after I'm dead is up to whatever is out there in the world. That happens to everybody when they're dead. And the Mormons can't wait to drag me to the judgment table and see justice. I'm going to just hide in a bomb shelter. They won't find me. Says, where's the bard? It's his time to come up before God. You go, nah, we can't find the bard. He's hidden. He's really scared. So we'll just throw gasoline and a match down in there where he's hiding in that bomb shelter, and then just close the door. Let him get used to where he's going to be. Well, anyway, here's what I'm thinking, okay? Let's say that the end of the world does come, and the only people that are left are the ones that built bomb shelters. Now, if you've met these people as a group, and you look to the future and say, this is the group of Adam and Eves that are going to repopulate this planet, your children are going to go, you're not our dad. If you make us marry those brown people over there, or those black people, or those Indian people, we're not going to marry them and have babies. We're done. So anyway, now there's discrimination, born anew, and the people that you're sharing the earth with are as much of an asshole as you are. They would shoot anybody that came for food. And if their child came for a Band-Aid or medication, penicillin, you'd go, no, we're going to save it for our children in case they get sick. I know yours is sick right now. So anyway, the afterlife, I think, is worse than dying by a meteorite. I don't know. First of all, you got to get out of the shelter. And you come out, there ain't nothing. There's not a tree, there's not a bush, there's not a snake, there's not a spider. You can't even tell where there were mountains, valleys, streams, rivers. It's like Mars, okay? Now, I've seen the pictures up there on Mars, and I don't want to say inhospitable, but I do want to say desolate. So you get up, you have no phone, you have no electricity, you can't get a report on the radio who died and who didn't die. There's no... Hold on, I got a baby. Yes? Half an hour. Bring me up an ice water, will you please? Free. For free, no money. Jeez, kid wants money for everything. Bring me my medications, I'm dying. $3. Jeez, Allison. So anyway, you get out of your bomb shelter, and your kids look around and go, Dad, there's no one to play with. So what? You're alive. Well, we didn't think it was going to be like this. Our bikes blew up. All of our toys are gone. And the teenagers go, Dad, the internet doesn't work. And I can't charge my phone. There's no electricity. And my iPod, I can't hear any songs. I'd rather be dead. So the dad says, well, there's a gun right down there. Bring it up and I'll see if I can help you out. I saved your life. So the kids come out of the shelter. They're pissed. They say, Dad, you know, we didn't want to eat those old beans down there. And we'd like to have a refrigerator and some ice cream like we used to have. And hell, we ain't seen a refrigerator for 6 months. Where's the refrigerators? They were all blown up by the damn commies. We used to call them commies. Communists. They're not communists anymore. So we still call them commies. And the old people say, the Japs. You know, we have all of these nicknames for people we hate. So anyway, the kids now are pissed. And they go, Dad, I thought we were coming out and we're going to get some real food. So we're going to have to eat the shit that's still down in the hole. And you go, well, looks like it. Says, we gotta go ahead and find some more food. They go, Dad, the car disappeared. It's gone. There's no car. There's no trucks. There's no roads. There's nothing. What are we going to drive to find food? Well, we're going to plant those seeds that your brother took down there in the shelter. And the older teenager says, and what are we going to water it with, Dad? There's no water. All of the wells, all of the pipes, everything for water is gone. Well, spit in the hole. Keep spitting in the hole. We're gonna survive this. We're survivors. The kids go, Dad, I don't think we want to be survivors. Can we just be dead? So now the wife comes out and she goes, Harley, I can't do the damn dishes. There's no running water. Spit a lot. Just your whole idea for water is spitting. By the way, I have to go poo-poo. Spit. It'll flush. Spit. Now the wife's pissed. She goes, Harley, I don't have a dishwasher anymore. There's no electricity. There's no water. There's no windows to look through. And frankly, all of my friends have been disintegrated. There's no one to tattle on. There's no one to gossip with. Well, at least you're alive. Now the kids would rather be dead, and now the wife is starting to think the kids have something here that I may be interested in. So he gets out of the shelter, and he has on all of these bullets. He looks like not a comrade, what do they call it? A bandino from Mexico. He's got all of these bullets across him, and he's got his cap on, and he's one of these survivors. He's got 9 hand grenades hanging on him, an AK-47. Hold on, I gotta get my water. Okay, thanks, honey.
I got my money when?
You'll get your money soon.
How much money?
I know you do. There's no way to spend it in the house.
A malt?
A malt? I'm not getting you a malt. Oh, God. Sometimes I wish I was dead. Kids. At least I got a water for free. So, Dad comes out, and he's like a walking one-man army. And Helen looks at him and goes, Harley, why do you need all of that shit hanging on you? There's no one on earth! Are you going to throw it at me and the kids? Harley says, well, the city people may be coming from the big cities, and they're coming out to get our food. And the kid said, Dad, give them the food. We don't want it. Give them that damn food. I'm not giving food to anybody. I'm here to protect you. Say, well, Dad, I'm not sure what you protected us from. Death might have been better. So the 17-year-old boy, he says, Dad, listen, I've had a question about this for a long time. You keep thinking that the city people are going to come out and get us, and that we're going to have to shoot them to hold on to our food. He says, now, Dad, I've been figuring we're 170 miles from the closest city. If the bombs hit the city, there's no electricity, no one can get gas. Even if you had a full tank of gas, most cars don't even know where we are. We're not on the damn map. They'll know those people are coming to get us. Dad, I don't think so. Their cars disintegrated, and the ones that they put in cardboard boxes, they can't even pump a tank of gas in them. And when they do, and if they could, they would have to walk the last 100 miles with all of their children and all of their supplies. And I don't think they're bringing blowtorches to get into our tomb here. Our tomb, they could just open the door. Dad, I don't think anybody's coming. You could probably take those bombs off of you because you know you have blown your foot up 2 or 3 times when you were wearing a handgun, and it shot your little toe off on the right foot twice. It grew back, as you remember. Well, God has saved us, and we're here to repopulate the planet. Now, the 14-year-old, I love to pick on 14-year-olds because I've got one finally. What a teenagers. Anyway. Harley says, we have to repopulate the world. And the boy says, Dad, there's no one to marry. Everybody's dead. Dad said, well, God's ways are not our ways. God is mysterious. So, Helen, I think that's her name, Helen says to Harvey, what the hell? How are we going to repopulate? You know, I'm pushing 40, and, you haven't seen an erection for 12 years. Where are the babies going to come from, Harley? So, Harley said, okay, I'm going to start a church. Everybody in the family is just shaking their head and going, oh boy. Here comes the Joseph Smith syndrome. Mormonism is reborn. So he said, I want you to all put on this clothing, and we're going to call it garments. And then you put on the outside of your other clothing. And the kids say, Dad, this is stupid. It's hot as hell out here. I don't want to wear 2 pairs of underwear. So anyway, Harley decides that he's starting a church, and he's now the prophet of the new church. So he orders the 17-year-old to copulate with the wife so that they can have 1 or 2 babies. And then he says to the 14-year-old, I think my impotence is improving. Come with me. the Joseph Smith. And she's got her teddy bear like Helen Mar Kimball had. Dad, no, no. He says, we molest children in Utah for years and years. It's now your turn. So that's what you're going to have. You're going to have, a group of imbeciles screwing each other, which is what you've got in Utah anyway. And you're going to come out of that bomb shelter whole thing and wish to God that you'd been swept away in an instant. Now it's going to take, years and years and a lot of suffering, starvation, dying of thirst, and having to have sex with your mother. If that ain't the end of the world, dying in that shelter would have been better. So anyway, here's my tip, folks. The world ain't going to end. The Bard's going to be here on the 22nd, and I'll certainly do a special recording on the 22nd that I am still alive and well. And like I told all of you, especially you Mormons, if you really think the world is going to end, please sign over your houses, your cars, and your money to the Bard. And I'll make sure that it goes to poor children in Kolob after I use it like you do. A $5 billion mall, and the Haitians standing there with no clothes in the rain and the blood and the mud and the beer, and you send them 2 2x4s. I'll do the same. My humanitarian service will be more than yours. I'll send them 3 2x4s. Welcome to the end of the world, and I don't want to be here. Please, if it's the end of the world, take me first. I don't want to come up out of that shelter and be ordered to have sex with my 85-year-old mother. Thank you.